people can't see it. Or I have to turn it up. so
Alright, let's call,
so it doesn't go into
public,
the-
notice of public hearing capital budget proposal,
I'm
found in
not-
Grafton,
I did
Vermont,
To see.
to order.
I would like you to be, and then maybe I would. Yes.
Monday, December 15th, 2025, 5:45. Here at the town hall upstairs, to discuss the proposed capital budget for fiscal year 2026 to 27. So, Party Merrill, you
Okay.
ready?
I would like to first thank the members of this year's capital budget committee, who are Joe Polio, John Gregory, Maureen Parker, David Rogers, Jim Record, Cynthia Gibbs, and myself. We met first on November 13th, 2025, and we reviewed the recent cash flow of the capital budget, projected future needs of the town that had been identified for us, and developed our recommendations for the coming year. We can go to the first schedule. First schedule identified what our actual funds balance was as of the end of 6/30/2024. And basically here, I'm just gonna skip to the bottom line, which says that we had available, according to our balance sheet, $368,374. We voted in 2024-25 to add to that number $250,000. And we had then funds available to spend of $374. During 24-25, we spent in the highway equipment fund $270,129, of which $225,900 was for our new loader, and $43,609 was a lease payment for truck number 1. We also spent $17,000 for the fire truck fund, which is the last year that we were able to put that into the capital fund per the auditors. That was removed and had to be put into the general budget in future years, which I believe is there now.
Yes.
We also spent $6,969 on the town hall, which was, I believe, Morgan, a invoice from our people to
Engineers.
give you a estimate on what was from a lawyer.
Yes, for the fire escape.
Fire
So that left us at the end of 25, which we just finished a few months ago, $324,276. Now, in last year's town meeting, we voted $200,000 more to be added to the fund. 26,000 of that went into the highway, road and structures program, and 174,000 into the highway equipment program, which gave us, going into 25-26, $66,032 in the highway structures fund, $400,000 and $143 in the highway equipment fund, $11,220 in the guardrails program. Fire truck fund again is gone. Town hall requirements, $38,574, and a computer upgrade program, $8,307, for a total available funds this year of $524,276. So what are the things that are on the horizon facing us? First, let's look at the highway structures and culverts. We have 3 major projects that have been identified to the committee by the highway department. Project number 1, project number 2, and project number 3. 2 of those are on Fisher Hill and are considered quite critical, as they are small culverts, and if they go out again, the highway crew could have difficulty getting down the hill. That's the 2 biggest issues that we have with culverts in this town. But you can also see it's a significant amount of money And that it was well over $1 billion just to do all three projects, so it's 400,000 for each one, for the first two, and 275 for the third. The other big items that we have to look at are our equipment. We have, as you can see, there is an appreciation schedule that we've set up for the last several years, which has all of our equipment across the top. We have truck number 1, purchased in 2025, truck number 2, purchased in 2023, truck number 3, purchased in 2019, truck number 4, which was purchased in 2021, our loader, which we just purchased last year, the backhoe in 2012, the grader in 2010, our tractor in 2017, and our excavator and trailer in 2019. You look down at the schedule and you go to the year 2026, that shows that we need to replace truck number 3, which we have just done recently by $57,369 with the bid, and it was approved by the select board, and we will be getting that truck. In 2027, we need to replace truck number 4. In 2029, we have truck number 2 to replace. And in 2030, we have the grader to replace. The grader was originally scheduled earlier, but based on information from the highway department and John Gregory, who worked with them on the select board, it was determined that we could push that out to 2030 as it has fairly low hours and is in good shape. And last, do you want to make any comments on that, John? Okay. Are there any questions on this schedule? If none, we can move to the next schedule, which is an analysis of the equipment cash that we would need through 2030 to replace the items that we just looked at on the previous schedule. In 2026-27, we will be replacing truck number 4. It's been determined that, and is in this plan, to lease this truck. And to lease it would cost about $32,515 for 5 years. So that's the plan that we're recommending. In 2027-28, we would have to spend the lease again for another $32,515. Those are the only 2 things that we need to spend money on our equipment on in those 2 years. In 2028-29, we would have truck number 4 lease again for $32,515, and we replace truck number 2 with another lease for $44,128 for 5 years. So for that year, we would need to spend $76,643. In 2029-30, we've got truck number 4's lease, truck number 2's lease, and the grader, for a total of $426,643. The total cash required for these items in these 4 years is $568,316, less the equipment funds that we have available as of 6/30/2026, which is $299,177. So that means between now and 2030, which is 4 years, in our capital fund here, we need to raise $269,139. It doesn't have to be all done in 1 year. And if we're spending $200,000 a year, obviously you could raise that in the next 2.5 years out of the next 4. So the question is, how do we allocate our funds? So right now, we can go back to the next sheet, which shows that we have this $524,000 available as of the end of going into 25-26. Spending wise, we know we're going to spend $100,966 in 25-26, $53,300 $57 is on the pickup. And the lease for truck number one is $43,609. Now, this is only the second and third year of that lease, but the town has agreed they had some surplus money and they're going to pay off the lease, I understand, after this current year. So that would go away. So the $100,966 will be the cash outflow in 25-26. We spent $1,220 on the guardrail program. Computer software, we had to upgrade the listers assessment program for $3,500. The town hall, we didn't spend anything, and computers, we spent $3,325 to buy 2 computers. This past year. So we will have a total outflow of about $109,011, which will leave us projected at the end of 2026 tax year, 6/30, $415,265, of which $299 is in the highway equipment fund, 66,000 structures, 10,000 guardrails, a -35 in computer software, town hall, 38,574, and 4,982 in computers. This year, we're projecting for 26-27 spending only $32,515 in highway fund. But we don't have a firm quote yet, do we, Morgan, on the town hall,
We do not.
staircase, et cetera. But we're estimating that could be a total of $80,000. So we're gonna need to put some money aside for that. Computer upgrade program, we're also gonna buy a couple more computers this year. That's what on the regular program there. So that'll be $3,325. So we're gonna have an outflow of about $115,840. And we're recommending that we go back to the taxpayers for another $200,000 this year. Now, where do we want to spend that money? You go to the last sheet. Our recommendations are on the highway road and structures fund, let's put aside $139,000 there just to start building that up. Computer software fund, we need to put in that $3,500 that we're late on right now. We're gonna need another $42,000 for the town hall requirements. We'll get to the total of $80,000 needed. And after some discussion, this was brought up by some of the members on the committee, it's felt that the town should start considering putting aside some money for our fire hydrants, which have been in service for a long time. And at some point, some of those hydrants are probably gonna need to be replaced. And maybe some of even the piping may need to be replaced at some point in time. And I'm not sure exactly how many years it will service this hydrant system has been in service, but I'm sure it's
Over 50 years.
Over
50 years.
Oh, wow.
And I'm 82. So we're recommending that we put aside $15,000 for this year to start building up that fund. Now, we're also recommending to the select board that they contact the Wyndham Foundation and the Nature Museum, whose sprinkler systems are connected to the town hydrant system, and ask them to provide some annual assistance, the maintenance of the hydrant system. I think we should look at other towns which have, hydrant systems, water systems. And they assess all of the taxpayers that are on the system, but I'm not recommending that, but I think the select board needs to consider pointing out that some other people in the town, businesses. And see if we can get some contributions from them as well. I think it's food for thought. We're also recommending that the select board consider what options are available for additional funding. Funds to support any culvert projects that we believe to be critical. Example, you could take some money from the highway fund if you wanted to, but if you take any away from that, say, this year, you're gonna have to replace it in the next 3 years, because you're gonna need a total of $546 by 4 years out. So You take money away to run, you know, maybe to draw fear from things. But that's something you gotta think about, depending on how critical we feel replacing one of those culverts is or both of those culverts. Are there any questions on any of the stuff that I presented, any?
They're not recommending any of the funds this year going to the equipment fund.
Excuse me? I have to put my ear.
I saw there are funds going into the structures, but nothing going into the equipment fund this year.
Right, so. If we make the 139,500 into the structures fund, that's gonna give us a total of 205,000 roughly there today. Along with 266 in the highway equipment fund, 10,000 guardrails. Town hall requirements would be basically break even after we pay for the staircase. And the computer upgrade, we still have $1,600 there, another year we may have to start putting a little money away there. And we would have 15,000 in the hybrid fund, so. You're halfway there to a culvert. Now, if you can get funding for the state somehow or somewhere else. Obviously, that's a plus, so. And if we don't do it this year, next year we put aside another 100 in there and, or maybe 150 and then start funding up the equipment to make sure that we get to the 168,000 by 2000 per. So there's ways you can do this. And hopefully something will pop from the state.
So Morgan, at one point you had, I feel like we had some information about the next time we can go to the state for grants. We've gotten a bunch of grants and we're sort of in a wait return kind of thing. Do we know that clearly or?
Yeah, V-Trans has a structures program where they fund towns throughout the state on a pretty strict schedule. They're not projecting Grafton to receive funds again until fiscal year 2030. That said, at the end of each year, they may have some money left over. So we're in constant communication with them about that.
Sure, a lot of
If a town,
towns are.
if a town denies the funding, it bumps everybody up off the list, but. As of last time we spoke to them, we're not projected until 2030.
Basically, and it's every 3 years.
Right,
By
right.
the way, it could be less if the town refuses.
The likelihood
And then we could give them.
is probably not great.
Yes. I mean, we're constantly looking for all sorts of grants.
Go ahead.
Thank you. So Cory, would you be fair to characterize the reason we need $200,000 additional capital funds this year? Our actual costs are projected to be lower.
Yeah.
But we need to add to other funds so that projecting for our expenses in the future, we have enough money to cover those without a huge increase.
That's true. That's the
It
theory,
evens it out.
that's the theory. Over the last probably 5 or 6 years, especially since I've been doing it, we've been at 250 to those 5 or 6 years.
I learned that from Cynthia. Thank you. I think we can explain that. I think that's I'm seriously, as a taxpayer, I think we can explain, especially when we have those big expenses like $400,000 culverts, $350,000 graders. Anybody would try to save for those things. Critically.
And actually, the layout year on year is very healthy.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Good to understand.
So on those culverts, the two Fisher Hill culverts, do we have I mean, is it even possible to think about, I know we're concerned about them, is like, the lifespan, it's like, yeah, in the next couple of years, or is it sooner, or does it depend on weather? I mean, is it just impossible to predict?
It's not a lifespan of the culvert, it's
Right.
culverts are way too small and then we get a.
Then we get used.
As it's done for the last 10 years.
Yeah.
So if we.
It's unpredictable.
We can replace it, we look into what
Yeah,
And you don't know how long FEMA's gonna be around to pick up the face cuts of those homeless.
that's true.
Yeah, I was surprised. I actually drove up and went down and, they're way too small. You need box culverts there.
And actually, kind of illustrated by the culvert that was replaced right at the bottom of the hill.
Yeah.
The last flood, it handled it fine.
Right.
Both of those culverts have had hydrology studies done on them, and it's really hard to project the cost of these projects, but. So that 400,000 is based on what was recommended from the state for the size of the culvert.
Isn't the hydrology part of the cost? Is that always?
That's.
Or is the
that's
engineering
for
separate?
the state, the engineering is separate.
The longer you wait, that 400,000
It's gonna be
goes
like
up.
Oh, I was
500.
gonna say,
Yeah, it's low right now. I would estimate it more like 500,000 right now than 4.
Any other questions from the public? This is the public hearing. If not, I think you can close the public hearing.
Okay. Does the board have any other comments?
Thank you very much.
This is really very clear, thank you. To all of you that worked hard on this.
Yeah, thank you for your work.
I'll just need a motion to close.
Motion to close. The public hearing.
Second,
All those in favor of closing the hearing on capital budget? Any opposed? A motion passed.